Hello again, Gills fans. Welcome back to the latest episode of Gills in the Blood TV. It is that time of the week again already. It's match preview show time. They come round a lot quicker when your team is playing well, scoring some goals, keeping clean sheets and winning football matches. Saturday, we take on Ben Garner's Colchester United back at the Priestfield after a couple of away games. So looking forward to being in front of our home crowd again. I'm pleased to say that this evening, ahead of that fixture, I am joined by Ryan, who runs the Up the U's official YouTube channel. So I will put his details in the description at the bottom of this video. Go and give him a follow. Go and drop a sub on his YouTube channel for everything Colchester related. Ryan, appreciate you coming on, and we will let the viewers into a secret. This is our second attempt at recording this match preview show because my laptop decided to not play ball the first time. So thank you very much. Nice to see you again this evening.
Yep.
Tell everyone about your YouTube channel and what you do.
Yeah, it's called Up the U's. It is a channel dedicated to all things Colchester United. At the moment, we're just doing the videos on the games that have happened, but in the future, we're hoping to get on some fans, some former, some current players, former, current staff, and any other League Two content creators. But really appreciate the invite onto your channel.
No, pleasure. Thank you for coming on, like I say, for the second time in the evening. Form, not ideal for Colchester at the moment. Understand you've only played 3 league games compared to everyone else's 4 because, such as the weather in August in the UK, you had a game postponed, first day of the season for a waterlogged pitch. Since then, there's been a 2-2 draw with Cardiff in the League Cup. Unfortunately, spot kicks was not your friend that night. You lost 3-0 in the shootout, but a decent performance looking at the stats by all accounts. Then there was a narrow defeat at Valley Parade against Bradford City by 2-1. Just looking at it at face value, and obviously you can tell me more, Wimbledon at home 2-0 defeat looks like the most disappointing performance result of the quartet of games that you've played so far. And then late heartache against MK Dons just last Saturday, where you managed to throw away a 2-1 lead with a couple of minutes of normal time plus whatever the referee added on, and I'm sure we'll talk about added time as the episode goes on. But yeah, just run us through us briefly, like in terms of performances and results at the moment, positives, negatives.
Yeah, so the Cardiff game for me was a big positive. We were 2-0 down against a very, very good Championship side, and some teams, being a League Two team, some teams might look at that and think, it's the Cup, first round exit, let's just not give up, but let's just sort of tone it down a little bit. Yeah, exactly. Think about the league. Obviously, not having the game against Swindon, like you say, for a waterlogged pitch for the first game of the season was horrible. Everyone's looking forward to seeing how the team plays. Garner's had his first pre-season with us, starting to bring in some of his players, and then the game gets pulled off. So for game number 1, being against a Championship team like Cardiff, who not that long ago were in the Premier League, to be 2-0 down, get it back to 2-2, for me showed great character. John Akinde, obviously ex-Gills striker, and Joe Taylor opening their accounts for the season, and both with, for me, what are goal scorers' goals, being in and around the 6-yard box, picking off the loose ball to just tap it into the net, was really good. Bradford, again, Joe Taylor scored in that game, closed down the keeper, and for us Col fans, the one thing we've been wanting for the past sort of 5-6 years is a natural goal scorer. And yes, we've only played 4 games, but in them 4 games, Joe Taylor scored 4 goals, and he's looking like a goal scorer. The Wimbledon game, that was diabolical. First home game of the season, under the lights. Colchester normally are quite good under the lights, but if I'm honest, Wimbledon should have won that 5-6-0. We just weren't stopping the crosses coming in. First time the cross comes in is a sort of wake-up call. The second time, so we should probably stop this. But when it gets to 7th or 8th time, the same cross comes in, and we're basically just inviting the pressure on. It was a very hard game. And after the game, Garner come out and said, apart from our young 17, 18-year-old left-back, Jaden February, no one was at it. So going into Saturday to facing the other Wimbledon, MK Dons, everyone needed to up their game, and they did, until the 88th minute when local lad, Alex Gilby, scored against us, which was very heartbreaking, but I love Gilby. I'd love to see him come back to play for Colchester. But then 11 minutes of added time, the most I've ever seen in a game of football live, to then lose it in the 99th minute was just absolute heartbreak. But unfortunately, Colu fans are used to that at the moment.
Yeah, it sounds tough, and it sounds like, can hear the way you're talking, and it sounds like there's elements of the play that you're quite excited about, but it just seems to be a naivety perhaps to the play. And that brings me on nicely to transfer business in the summer, and a question that I've got related to that. And so I had a look, and I think it's 7 signings that you've made overall. 3 permanents: Ellis Andelo from Swindon, who's played for Ben Garner previously, Ronnie Nelson, who's come from Leicester's under-21 squad, and then Mandela Egbo from Charlton Athletic. On top of that, you've got Owen Goodman on loan from Palace, Mauro Bandera from Arsenal, Nico Lawrence from Southampton, and Joseph Taylor, as you've already spoke very highly of, from Luton Town, who seems to be the pick of the bunch at the moment. Obviously, goal scorers tend to get all the glory if they're doing their job and scoring goals. You don't see so many goalkeepers getting loads of praise and that type of thing, unless they're making ridiculous amount of saves. But then, if your keeper's being called into action for that amount, then there's probably question marks across the rest of the team. Question though, based on them transfers, because I was looking at them and I thought, I see that under-21 was a phrase, and then obviously loans. So you think youngsters, you don't get Premier League loans of being people that are, at the back end of their career. So I did a bit of research, and of the 7 signings, there's only 2 that are 20 or plus. The rest are all teenagers. So based on what you've said, and obviously what I was just looking at face value in terms of the numbers, is there perhaps an over-reliance on youth now? Because before Ipswich retirement home, Ipswich B, we know that type of thing. The likes of Chambers, Scouse, Judge, Smith, Sears, all got released in the summer, and also the keeper Dean Gherkin, who I don't think has played for Ipswich. But there's a lot of players that were very experienced, 30 plus, been around the block, know how to play the game. They've all gone and been replaced by a bunch of kids, essentially. Is it maybe a case at the moment of Ben Garner not quite getting the balance right between the youth and the experience? Because you are a very young side, I get that, and it does work. And like, I might have an Alan Hansen moment here, and Colchester could get in the playoffs in 6-7 months, and I might look like a complete idiot. But what's your take on it at the moment? Is it just that a little bit of naivety and a bit of inexperience at key times in games?
For the MK Dons game, definitely. Last season, having players like Cole Scouse, Luke Chambers, as you mentioned, even I wasn't a massive fan of him, but Alan Judge, Emery Hughes, the players that have been in and around and know how to really knuckle down and get that win. I think if we had someone like a Cole Scouse, Luke Chambers in the team against MK, I think we would have either kept the 2-1 or maybe would have drawn 2-2, because they would have just gone on and just really shored up the midfield. As you say, the age-old cliche, you won't win anything with kids. I think you need a good balance in the team. You need the experienced players in the League One, League Two. You then need the youngsters that need to prove themselves, like you said, Goodman, Bandera, and Taylor, all come in from Premier League sides. So they're at their sort of point in their career where they need to play games to learn the game. The jump from League Two to Premier League is obviously a massive jump. I hope Luton don't recall Taylor and think, right, he's scoring goals in League Two, let's now get to League One, see how he plays there. But no, I think we are calling out for that experienced man in the middle, whether that's in the back line or as a defensive midfielder, centre midfielder, just to, in them key games, just get the youngsters around them, get them playing how they should play, really, and just get everyone together and just fight for them last minutes. The game against MK was hard because we had our 2 strikers up front, but we didn't have a striker on the bench. And at the end of the game, both of them had come off. And I think at the end of the game, we had 6 academy players on the pitch, which some of them, Noah Chilvers, Junior Chamadou, they've played a lot of first team football, but some of the other youngsters in Jaden February, Bradley Ihoven, they've only just come through the team. And yeah, it's one of them. Like I say, you need your balance, you need your experienced players, you need your younger players, and then you need your middle core players, which Ian Darlow and Egbo are them sort of players. Played under Garner before, know how Garner plays. So they're going to be key signings for us, I think. But yeah, we just need one or two League Two players.
Of course, yeah. Like we say, it's just about getting the balance right. And another cliche. I don't want to keep chucking them out there, but if you're good enough, you're old enough, and age isn't an issue then. But there's still going to be certain elements of games where you just need someone calming influence. Like we've got Sean Williams, who does it really well, and we seem to have got it just right so far, at least. Like we've got keepers, we've got Glenn Morris, vastly experienced, won loads of Player of the Year awards with Crawley Town. He's 39, 40 in December. But then we've got Jake Turner, who's our number one at the moment, who's only 24, so very young in terms of a goalkeeper. If you look at the left backs, we've got Max Clark. I know he's 27, but he's predominantly played sort of lower league. I think he had a few games in the Championship. But then we've got Scott Malone, who's 32, who's played loads of games in the Championship. I think it was only 5-6 years ago, he was playing for Huddersfield in the Premier League. Middle of the park, Sean Williams, Timmy Dieng, loads of experience. But then you've got like Ethan Coleman, who's up and coming, who's only 24. So again, a baby in terms of that type of role. Up front, I think is probably where we're mostly experienced. But then we've got the likes of Dom Jeffries and Jaden Clark, who are early 20s, and then teenagers that are now sort of in and around the first team environment because we've managed to get a B team sorted out for the first time. We've sort of dragged ourselves kicking and screaming into the 21st century. But just looking at your like the spine of your team, just to go back to that again for the MK Dons game, like the keeper's 19, then your middle centre half would have been Tom Dallinson, who I know unfortunately went off injured, so maybe he's a doubt for Saturday. He's 27. But then your middle three were Lawrence, Reed and Chilvers. So you've got no one older than 22, 23 in the middle of the park. Your front two were very young, literally very young, and also young in terms of Football League experience. And you always tend to look at the better teams or the teams that are more successful, and you go through the middle of the team and there's some real experience and know-how in there. So again, maybe that's something to look at. Be interesting to see how they develop, of course, and I'm sure it would be exciting. But like you've sort of alluded to, you've got to be very aware, especially with loan players, that there's an element of risk with them. Like they're coming in to learn the game. They're not the finished article. That's why they're being allowed to go out on loan. And it's always a double-edged sword, isn't it? They come in and they don't make the grade. You have to give them back because you want to try and improve. And if they do really well, like Taylor has done so far, chances are Luton go, right, come back, and then we'll look League One. And that happened to us a couple of times. We had Jamie Cumming, I think it was a couple of seasons ago, did well at Stevenage on loan from Chelsea, then came to us. I think because we were struggling in League One, they sent him to MK Dons at the top half of the same division. It didn't work out last season for Jamie, but that's the environment we're in as lower league football clubs, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Like you say, Luton obviously see something in Joe Taylor. They're going to want him to play football. If he's scoring loads of goals in League Two, at Colchester, they might think, right, if he's settled in Colchester, let's take him away from Colchester and let's put him into a League Two team in and around. Let's even see if Ipswich want to give him a go, up front for them. It's one of them things that the loan players that come in, you want them to come in and perform well, but you also don't want them to perform too well that the other teams go, we'll take them back. And it's the old cliche, never fall in love with a loan player.
It was literally just about to say the same thing. Yeah, you just
Colchester they've had many players in on loan that have been absolutely brilliant for them, and then go on to like obviously the bigger and better things. We had one of the Murphy brothers, who I believe it was the one that's now at Newcastle. We had Antonio, Jacob. I think it was Jacob, yeah. And then we had Antonio in, who's now playing at West Ham. I believe we had Craig Eastman, who at the time it was him and Sanchez Watt. We had both of them in on loan.
Oh, from
really
Arsenal,
well.
Sutton, isn't he? I think.
Craig
Eastman, scored against us last season.
Yeah, we've had so many players like that have come in on loan and been so good for us. Then they go back and then they just progress through their career that way. And yeah, you never fall in love with a lone player, but yeah, I think Joe Taylor's one at the moment that a lot of fans are in love with.
Yeah, unfortunately, it happens, doesn't it? Because you can't help it. It's your football club, and if they're helping your football club do well, it's the natural thing that happens. But yeah, it's very high risk, and not always high reward for the club that's taking the player on loan, because invariably they get snatched away for one reason or another. But you have to just enjoy it while it lasts, I think, don't you? Um, Ben Garner came in, probably was in charge for sort of the last third of last season after Matt Bloomfield was unfortunately poached by Wycombe Wanderers, and I think it's a job he was never going to turn down, unfortunately, because of his affiliation with the chair boys. So that was unfortunate, because again, it's nature of the beast at this level, isn't it? You give these coaches and these managers a chance to learn the game at a lower level, and that's what we're at. That's no disrespect to Colchester or Gills. And then they tend to get taken away by bigger clubs and bigger fish in bigger ponds, so to speak. So that must have been frustrating. But how's Ben Garner settled in? What's your view on him, and what's the Colchester fan base as a whole been towards Ben Garner? Because I've always said that he's had one really good job. That was Swindon in this division. He got them playing some really good stuff. Probably not the football that you generally see in League Two. I think it's a very robust and a very direct league on the whole. You get your anomalies. You're trying to be the anomaly. I think Crawley are trying to be the anomaly. Forest Green are probably the most successful exception to the rule in the last few seasons, winning the division 2 years ago. How is Ben Garner settling in, and what's the way forward with him, and how do you think he's going to do if given time? Obviously, it's been a rocky start, but you'd hope that he'd be given a few weeks at least yet.
I like Ben Garner. The style of play that he has is something that Colchester have never seen before. His appointment, as you say, after Bloomfield, got the phone call to basically answer his dreams. He came in, no pre-season, no transfer window, was given the squad, and he done a good job of it. Bloomfield started getting wins under his belt, and Garner came in and kept that going, basically. Colchester fans, we're not a fan of the passing it around the back and trying to build up the possession. There are some teams in the league that will do that against, and they will pick us apart and win the ball back really quickly and make us look silly. There are then other teams that will do it too and make them look silly. A lot of Swindon fans, when Garner came in, they said, enjoy plan A and plan A only, enjoy a lot of possession and not many shots on target. Since he's been in, the possession's been there, the plan A has been there. There have been signs of plan B, which normally is sort of just getting another striker on the pitch, getting another playmaker on the pitch. But for me, I like the philosophy. It's the first time we've had another manager in charge that's been a manager since about 2012, I think. So it's something that the Colu fans are going to have to get used to. And I do hope that he is given the time. He's now had his pre-season. He's bringing in players, as I say earlier, bringing in Ian Darlow, bringing in Egbo, two players that he knows really well, knows how they play. He knows what he'll get from them players. Yeah, for me, like I say, I hope he's given the time. I like the style of play that he has. It's something completely different that Colu have not seen really ever. We see it come to this ground and we're like, wow, that works really well. Or you go, the keeper's going to make a mistake in a minute and we're just going to tap it into an empty net. And against MK and Wimbledon, there were signs of it's going to go wrong. But then there were signs of, oh my God, we've got it from the defence, from a goal kick to a shot in 15 seconds. So it's got its flaws, but it's got its perks.
That's it. I think it's one of them. If you can pull it off, it looks really, really good at the level, because it's not something that we're associating League Two with, and that's no disrespect to League Two in the slightest. It's a horrible league to get out of, and it's probably its most competitive that I've ever seen it. But yeah, I think you'd certainly have to have the right type of players to be able to implement it properly, because it's no good having a keeper that's not comfortable with his feet, or centre halves that are not comfortable with the ball at their feet, because they're just going to panic and make a mistake, or they're just going to revert to going direct, and then you're just giving possession up cheaply to the other side. So it'd be interesting to see how it works, and it'd certainly be interesting to see how John Akindi fares, because that's not John Akindi's game. John Akindi's very much, back to goal, play it into his chest, into his feet, and then get off of him as high up the pitch as you can and play from there. And that's when your Chilvers and maybe your Shamadoos that are high up can come to the fore. But certainly going to be an intriguing project to watch from an outsider's perspective. And I'm sure, like you've said, it's going to be exciting. But at times, I'd imagine you're probably going to be pulling your hair out watching it from a Col U fan's perspective as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, as you say, a player like John Akinde and even Tom Hopper that we have up front as well.
Oh, sure.
They're target men. They get the ball to me, and I'm going to flick it on to someone like Joe Taylor, Samson Tavide, Bradley Ihoven, the youngsters, the quick guys, and then either try and get in the box themselves for a tap in or sit on the edge of the 6-yard box for a rebound shot. So it's going to take some learning. So far, John Akinde, in the couple of games that I've seen him at the Cardiff game and then Wimbledon, he looks like he's learning it. But Rome wasn't built in a day. It's not. John Akinde's, like you say, he's had all of his career being the big target man. He's now got to learn something completely different. But it looks like it could work. As I say, his goal against Cardiff, he was just being a menace in and around the 6-yard box. The ball got laid back to him. He took the shot. The keeper saved it, and he comes straight back to him, and he tapped it in. Against Wimbledon, he had a really, really good effort that he could have scored, where he ran through the defence, shielded the player off, but then again, the Wimbledon keeper made a brilliant save, and he just couldn't get it in there. But he's like I say, his game is holding the ball up, and he now needs to learn a slightly different game. But
which is a big ask at 33 years of age or whatever he is now, because he's, like you say, he spent his whole career playing a certain way. So it really will be an interesting watch in terms of certain individuals adapting to it and how the whole team as a collective adapts to trying to play under Garnerball, as it gets called.
Yes.
Right, team news. We don't know anything official because it's Wednesday evening, so there's no press conferences until the Thursday. I know Gills is a day off Wednesday. I'm assuming most clubs are the same. They tend to have a day off middle of the week, especially if there's been a Tuesday night fixture. What are you expecting in terms of an 11 from for Saturday afternoon? I assume there's not going to be wholesale changes because of the fact that there are positive elements to what you're seeing in the play. Is there any people that are potentially coming back from injury that could feature, or people that played against MK Dons that might miss out? I've already mentioned Tom Dallinson. He was substituted off after just before the hour, so assuming there's some sort of issue there.
Yeah, Dallison, he's so far this season. I mean, we've played 3 games this season, but he's looked really strong. He's been the one in the middle of the 3. That's for me. That's where I'd love to see Connor Hall play. But Dallison has been in these 3 games. Dallison has been a real solid central centre back. Very vocal. If something's not right, he will shout at the player. Even against MK, Connor Hall done something wrong, who's the captain, and Dallison told him, you were wrong. So it is really good to see. But yeah, it looks like he possibly done a groin. His groins aren't the best. So possibly have someone else come in for his place. We've got Greenwich on the bench, but we also have Kelleher coming back into training. So he could feature. If Dallison isn't fit, I would imagine that Will Greenwich will fill his space, and then Kelleher might be on the bench. We've got Samson Tavide back from the suspension from the Cardiff game from his flying kick that he done. He'll be a live wire. Last season he was a real menace for some teams. We should have Akinde and Hopper back as well. So from last Saturday only having 2 strikers to this Saturday having 5 to pick from is impressive. It is exciting. Other than that, I think it would be very similar. I think it would probably be Goodman in goal. Probably stick to our back 3 of Lawrence, and then maybe Hall in the middle with Greenwich on the sort of left-hand side. Okay. Maybe Junior on the right with Jayden on the left. And then this is where it then gets difficult, where we don't have that DM. It's, do you play Arthur Reed and Mario Bandera together, who are both players that want to get the ball and drive forwards, and then have Noah Chilvers playing in behind, who is our playmaker. So you've then got 3 players in that sort of little triangle behind the strikers that just want to get the ball and drive. And then when we lose possession, turn around and go, oh, there's now a really big gap for the Gills to just walk away through. But yeah, I think it might Noah in behind the strikers, and then probably Taylor and Akinde up front with Samson and Hopper on the bench ready to come on and hopefully cause some havoc. But it's the midfield for me that's going to be the battle at the weekend. I think everywhere else we're okay. It's just in that middle of the park, and that's where some games are won and lost.
It'd be interesting then if it's very experienced in the middle of the park for Carl U, because I think we'll have at least one in there that's very, very experienced, whether it's Sean Williams or Timmy Dieng. So an intriguing battle awaits. I think the Gills have got a couple of injury issues. We've got no Ollie Hawkins. He's been out since the start of pre-season, and Lewis Walker, long-term knee injury, unfortunately. But I think there are doubts over Sean Williams, as I've already mentioned. Johnny Williams as well came off last Saturday, and Ashley Nadders, I think, had ice around his ankle at the end of the game against Crawley. So whether they're able to feature, I'm not entirely sure. We'll find out more when Neil Harris does his press conference Thursday afternoon. But for me, the goalkeeper and the back four don't change. 4 clean sheets. Why would it? So that'd be Jake Turner, and then it'd be Shea Alexander and Scott Malone as the fullbacks, with Maxima and Shadrach Ogie as the central pairing. If Sean Williams doesn't play, I'd imagine that Ethan Coleman will then partner Timmy Dieng, who'd come back into the starting 11. Dom Jeffries, I think, will keep his place. Johnny Williams, doubt. So I'd play someone like Jaden Clark, who's naturally more athletic, more of a player that you think wants to get in behind and drive at his fullback, whereas I think Johnny Williams is better ball to feet, linking play, drifting in off his touchline. So I'd go Clark from the right and Dom Jeffries from the left. Tom Nichols has to play. He's the link man. And I'd start Ashley Nadders if he's fit, because he's, I think, probably the quickest player in the division. And I think pace terrifies people at this level. If he's not, then maybe former Colchester striker Macaulay Bond might come in for his first start. But Neil's been trying to wrap him up and cotton wool, because he's miles behind everyone else in terms of a pre-season. I think he played in a behind closed doors game on Tuesday lunchtime. Rumour is he did notch in that game as well. We lost to Luton, I think, by 4-3, according to reports from their end. Gills didn't really cover it. So there's options. I think there'll be options like you've got back if everyone returns from injury. So looks like it's going to be an entertaining game, I think. Final question before I let you go again. Score prediction.
Yeah, well, if I'm a betting man, I would say 1-0 to the Gills. You quite like that scoreline this season so far. I think I would be silly in saying that we're going to come there and win. I think there will be goals, so I'm going to go over 2-2.
I think it was a 2-2 a few years ago, if I remember rightly, because I was looking at our record against you over recent years, and it's very patchy. I think you've done us a couple of times at Priestfield in the last sort of 7-8. I know there was a period where we didn't play each other because we were in different divisions, but yeah, I'm sure I remember a 2-2 at the Priestfield about 2014-15. I think we equalised really late. Because if I remember rightly, I've been slagging off our captain all game. And I think he must have heard me, because he scored in the last minute and ran right towards me. I mean, I might be just making that up. He could have just been looking at anyone, but it did seem directed towards myself.
He was going like that, looking in the stands.
That's it, yeah. Where's that mouthy idiot? I'm going to be positive, obviously, because we are top of the league. We've not conceded a goal and we're winning football matches. But I think, like you've said, I think both teams will score. I think this is the day where we concede the first goal in the league. But I think it might be the first day as well where we manage to notch more than the one. So I'm going to go for 2-1 to the Gills. Tom Nichols to open his account this season, and Macaulay Bond to come off the bench and score the winner. Sorry.
I don't. If Bond scores, I'm okay with it. He was in the youth team, and I remember ages ago. I think he scored like, even though it's for the youth, I think he scored 10 goals in 2 games. And I remember putting, I don't even know if Twitter was about back then. I remember putting a post out on Facebook saying, "Give him a go. Like, if he's scoring 10 goals in 2 games for the youth team, he knows how to score a goal."
Mm-hmm.
I believe his first game was on his birthday against Peterborough, and he scored the winner. So if Macaulay Bond scores, I'm happy for it. I just hope it's not in like the 95th minute. If he scores, let him score early. Let him get it out of the way with. Don't let him score a winner, because he's gonna want to celebrate. But yeah, if he scores, let him score early.
And obviously, we've got the same issue with John Akindi. So, but I think Macaulay Bond's probably more loved by the Colchester fan base than John Akindi was by the Gillingham faithful. But some interesting battles to come. Ryan, it's been a real pleasure. I really appreciate you coming back on for the
No
second
worries.
time. And let's hope that this saves properly this time so that we can put it out live on the channel. Gills fans, Colchester fans, if you're watching up until this point, thank you very much for getting to the end and sticking with us. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I've enjoyed Ryan's company. Please keep doing all that you do, liking, subscribing, retweeting, sharing, commenting, all that jazz. I say it every week. It's just me talking to myself, looking at a camera if you lot don't interact. So thank you very much. Just gone past 2,700 subscribers on the channel, which is frankly ridiculous. So thank you again for that. Now started adding a few of these things called shorts to the YouTube channel. Trying to keep up to date with the youngsters. So go and check them out. Just little clips from the season so far. If we get to 3,000 anytime soon, I'm pretty sure I can manage to do a giveaway for one lucky person. So the quicker we get there, the better for you lots. Be back Saturday afternoon for Matchday Live at the Priestfield. Until then, enjoy the rest of your week and up the Gills.